All right, welcome back to the show. Look, we've been talking about quarterbacks, rightfully so. 5 quarterbacks went in the first round last year. Everybody says it. If you don't have a quarterback, you're going to have a really hard time winning a championship, winning a Super Bowl in the NFL. So we talk about quarterbacks more than we talk about any other position. And some say this year's draft lacks a true franchise quarterback, that you have to really look really deep to find a jewel there. And some other people say, hey, wait a minute. Beauty is right there. You're just not paying attention. So we had to get ourselves a quarterback expert, a quarterback whisperer. It's Crissy Froyd. Crissy, you have studied this. You love talking about quarterbacks. You've got some interesting rankings, 1 through 10. So first of all, before I get to that, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So look, we're excited. You know, Michael Smith is not here right now. I think he's on his way to Vegas. We'll be out in Vegas for the draft in a couple of days. But I want to get your take on who you think the number 1 quarterback in this class is, because I haven't heard a lot of people saying this name. So tell me why this person is your number 1 and why.
Yeah, well, Carson Strong ahead of last season, and then even at the beginning of last season, was projected by some people to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, regardless of position. And then this narrative kind of came about that there was something long-term wrong with his knee that was later on cleared. But the hysteria of that has never gone away, and it's kind of overshadowed the fact that this guy is the most developed passer in the class after playing in the air raid, and really had arguably the most consistent season of any quarterback that's in this class. So I think it's just, there's basically every single stigma that exists surrounds him: the air raid, the pocket passer, the thing with the knee. So I think he's just up against a lot of things that he can't control that really aren't substantiated.
All right, well, let's do this, Crissy. Like, if you look at your number 1, Carson Strong, and I've seen what you said about Malik Willis, let's put them on a split screen. Carson Strong, Malik Willis. What would you say Strong's upside is? Because that's what everybody talks about, Malik Willis, upside, upside, upside. What's Strong's upside versus Willis's upside, in your opinion?
No, I think they're 2 totally different quarterbacks. And the reasoning that I use kind of moving with this is because a quarterback, especially in the modern era of the NFL, the way it's trending now, I believe, is it's a quarterback who is first and foremost a good pocket passer, but also has just enough mobility to evade pressure and move when he absolutely needs to. I thought that Carson Strong showed that. So when you look at last year's draft class and you think about guys like Mac Jones and how he's the most successful so far of that class, then I think that's kind of how you can see the Carson Strong trajectory going if he stays on that and does do something like Mac Jones did. And then Malik Willis, if he hits, he has by far the highest ceiling in this class and will quickly become one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL because he's the best of both worlds right now. So throughout offseason showcases, he's putting more touch on his passes. He's become just more developed on different levels of throws throughout the pre-draft process. But there was a lot of bad tape as far as he goes as a passer. But he, as far as raw athletic ability, physical tools, stuff of that nature, he had everyone else beat from the start. So I think that if he hits that ceiling, things are going to be really good for him, but there's a lot of potential for him to go bust, and I just can't ignore those red flags there.
Yeah, let's talk fits. I'm just fascinated with this because we know if you're a quarterback and you go to the wrong situation, no matter how talented you are, it's not going to be really successful for you. So Mac Jones, you mentioned him. Mac Jones went to the Patriots, had a strong infrastructure already in place. Bill Belichick and Nick Saban are practically best friends, so it was great intel coming from Saban to Belichick. Mac Jones has been coached by Saban, so he can be coached by Belichick. That was really the perfect fit for him. So when we talk about Strong and Willis, I really want to focus on those 2. What do you think a good fit would be for Strong, and what's a good fit for Willis?
Well, I think he can come into a team, and if he does hit that ceiling, or at least can utilize that mobility, that he can fit in a lot of different places just because he has this very broad skill set. I have him currently projected to go to the Detroit Lions at number 2, just because I think predictively that's probably what they're going to do. And then when I look at Carson, I would like to see him go somewhere like Pittsburgh, I know he's been mocked to San Francisco before, but he needs, just bottom line, he needs to go somewhere where they have a solid offensive line, some decent targets, and then preferably somewhere where they've had a pocket passer do well before, kind of like what happened with Mac Jones.
I'll tell you, I can't tell you who told me this. I can't tell you this, but it's someone who doesn't necessarily have an agenda. They don't have an agenda. They're not picking players. They know about picking players, but they're not picking players in this draft. And it was described to me this way. The quarterback class was described to me this way. You've got a bunch of second and third rounders who have all been promoted because there's such a thirst for quarterbacks, and franchises and head coaches and general managers know they need to do something at that position. Do you agree with that assessment, or do you think it's a little too negative, and that some of these guys, regardless of the year, if you put them out there and you look at, just put on the tape, some of these guys are true first rounders? What do you think?
Well, I think just looking at it, there's a lot of guys in this class that lack it factor. There are some guys who had one good season and the rest of them were kind of lackluster. So there's a lot of question marks. But as far as just the class as a whole, I see a lot of guys who have at least high-end backup potential. So I think this could potentially be a really good class for that. And then I see probably somewhere between 3 and 4 that might come out and surprise us and could potentially be starters that no one saw coming. I think that there are a lot of things to like about this class, but it seems like every quarterback is missing one piece, whether it be that continued consistent tape or whether it be a trait that you want to see or something of that nature. There's no guy that we look at and we go, oh, maybe this is a generational talent, kind of the way that people were with Trevor Lawrence, the way that people were with Joe Burrow.
You know, Crissy, I'll admit this. I'm like most journalists, and that is my weak spot is I like anybody who talks to me. Like anybody who talks to a journalist, they tend to like them. They're like, oh, wow, it's great. Oh, yeah, you want to talk to me? You're going to help me with my story? I like you a lot. So my bias, my blind spot already, I'm telling you, we talked with Desmond Ridder last week. Impressive guy, smart guy. It's the first time I talked to him, I'm like, I'm a Desmond Ridder fan. Then I look at your list and you have him, I think, number 6 out of 10. I'm wondering why you're not giving my guy, he's my guy now, my guy Desmond Ridder, a little bit more love.
Well, see, you know how it feels when people don't give your guy love, because I'm in the same position, obviously. I also talked to Desmond earlier this offseason. I like what he's done in this pre-draft process. We talked a lot about how he's overhauling his lower body mechanics a little bit, making some changes there, trying to find more consistency there. My big thing with him was I do believe the Cincinnati offense limited him. I would like to see what he can do outside of the Cincinnati offense. I think he has a good degree of athleticism, but I also saw some issues from time to time with decision making and then overall accuracy, which should be improved after this offseason with the training that he's done, but I'm going to need to see it just on tape. I think that he probably brings the best set of foundational traits. There's just a lot that's unproven and still to be seen, in my opinion.
You think it's 5 years from now? We're gonna see the future here. We'll do it all on Brother from Another. So we look into the future. 5 years from now, is Desmond Ridder a starting quarterback, or is he just like a really good backup who maybe is like the 33rd, 34th best quarterback in football?
I'm going to go high-end backup and then starting potential if the right situation finds him or if he happens into the right situation over that stretch of time. But the universe tends to work against me with these kind of things, so we can go ahead and assume the opposite's going to happen.
Well, tell me this. I like the humility. Now, you got to promote yourself a little bit. Now, which quarterback did you see early and you said, hey, watch this guy, and now that quarterback is getting it done? When you're in your early pre-draft process, you looked at him and nobody else could really see it. You have a quarterback like that and like, hey, I saw him before everybody else knew him.
Well, I feel like I was like that with Carson Strong. I feel like I was on him before anybody else, and he should at least go early mid-round, and I think that he deserves to go earlier than he's currently projected to. And then Bailey Zappi and Kenny Pickett, I had both boosted them up in the rankings back whenever they were probably somewhere between 15 and 20 and everybody else's, and then suddenly they took that jump and everyone else's afterwards. So I'd like to think that there are a few guys I've discovered in this class.
Yeah, you got to do that. See, like if you're a music fan and you see a band before they go stadium, they're like small cafe, House of Blues type of venues. Then they go big stadium, everybody knows them. You're like, no. That's kind of cheating. Now we know they're good, but I saw them before everybody knew. Last one I have for you, you mentioned him already, Kenny Pickett. I have a friend of mine in Pittsburgh who told me at the beginning of the season, hey, we got this year's Joe Burrow in Pittsburgh and Kenny Pickett. I don't hear people talking about him the way they talk about Joe Burrow. How do you see Pickett as a pro?
Well, I think the thing with that was that there's so many people that put a lot of stock into these offseason showcases, which, yes, they do show us some things. They do show us the player individually. But in my opinion, Kenny Pickett did not do anything to hurt himself or to boost himself throughout this pre-draft process. So it's interesting to me to watch how he went from a largely QB1 or QB2, and now in some people's rankings, he's moving down between 3 and 6. So I think that he's going to at least be a high-end backup. I think he's above average in every single aspect of quarterbacking. And I've seen the flashes of Joe Burrow. I do see similarities in talking with Kenny with the mindset, with some of the mobility, with some of the way that they throw the ball. And I think that if he can capitalize off those flashes, we're talking something special here. But I do think that there's a bit of a talent gap right now, and how that develops will remain to be seen at the NFL level.
Crissy, fantastic talking with you. Love talking about quarterbacks. Love talking about the draft. We'll continue to follow your work. We are on our way to Vegas. We're psyched. I hope we can catch up with you again.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
All right. Crissy Froyd, check her out. She knows quarterbacks. Quarterback Whisperer. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.